There's a stream not 40 paces from where I'm sitting right now. It runs clear as glass over a bed of clean stones. It's cold enough to ache your teeth, and it tastes sweeter than anything you'll ever pour out of a tap. And that pretty little stream has killed more good men out in this country than every wolf and bear and cat that ever walked it put together. I know how that sounds. The wild animal gets the credit. The animal always gets the credit because the animal is the thing with teeth and a face you can picture coming for you in the dark. But the truth is, a man out here is far likelier to be laid flat by something he can't see at all than by anything he could shoot. And the worst part, the part that ought to stop you cold, is that the water that kills you is almost never the water that looks like it would. Stay with me here, because once you understand this, you will never again trust a stream just because it's pretty. The clearest, coldest, most inviting water you ever knelt down beside is very often the most dangerous thing in the whole valley. And the muddy, ugly, unappealing water a man wrinkles his nose at can be the very thing that keeps him walking. That's backward from everything your eyes tell you. So hold tight to it, because by the time we're done, I'm going to show you exactly how a man can drink his fill, feel fine for days, and then go down so hard he can't stand. And I'm going to hand you the way the old hands read water before they ever filled a cup, a way that had nothing to do with how clean it looked. If you're the kind of person who wants the knowing that actually keeps a man alive, the old skills the rest of the world forgot, do me a favor right now and hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Tap the bell too so you don't miss what comes next. It costs you nothing, and it tells me to keep digging these old ways up for you. Now stay right here because this is where it gets good. Let me tell you who I am first, so you understand I'm not reading this off a card. I spent more winters than I care to count alone in country where the nearest doctor was 3 days of hard walking, and the nearest help might as well have been on the moon. I drank from streams and seeps and snowmelt and stock ponds. I got it wrong a time or two and paid for it, laid out flat in a lean-to, too weak to fetch my own wood. And the men who taught me, the old trappers and the few native hands who'd suffer a greenhorn long enough to teach him anything, they didn't read this in a book. They buried friends over it. That's the only schoolhouse the wilderness ever runs. The ones who got it wrong aren't here to argue. The lessons that lived are the ones written in the only ink this country respects. Now, here's where most folks go wrong, and I need you to lean in close, because if this next piece doesn't land, nothing else I tell you will keep you alive. Most people believe what their eyes tell them about water. Clear means clean. Cold means safe. Moving means pure. A pretty mountain brook tumbling down over the rocks just feels like health in a cup, and that belief is about the most natural thing in the world. And out here it is dead wrong. Clear water tells you one thing only. It tells you there's not much mud in it. That's all. It tells you exactly nothing about the thing that actually puts men down, because the thing that puts men down is far too small for any eye to catch. A drop of that sweet, clear water can be swarming with life you'll never see, and it'll look just as bright and clean going into your cup as the purest water on earth. Clear is not clean. Clear just means you can't see what's wrong with it. So why is the pretty water so often the killer? It comes down to what's upstream and uphill, the part you can't see from where you kneel. That bright, clear, fast little brook came down off the high country, and somewhere up above you, out of sight around the bend, a deer or an elk or a beaver died in it, or did its business beside it, or a whole herd crossed it and stood in it on a hot afternoon. The water ran clear over the stones below because the stones strained the mud out, but the stones strained out nothing that matters. That clean look is a lie, the gravel tells. Meanwhile, the slow, muddy water a man turns his nose up at, sitting brown and unlovely, is often water that's been settling and sitting and getting worked on by sun and earth. and sometimes it's the safer of the two. Not always. I'm not telling you to go drink mud. I'm telling you the look of the thing is no guide at all, and the man who lets pretty water make his decisions for him is a man making a coin flip with his own guts. Here's the part that turns the whole thing into a true mountain story instead of just a warning. This invisible killer doesn't drop you where you drink. It lets you walk. You kneel by that lovely stream. You drink deep. You feel grand. You break camp and you make good miles and you feel grand the next day too. It's 3 days on, 4 days on, a week even, by which time you are deep in the country with no road behind you and no road ahead, that the thing you swallowed finally comes due. And it comes due all at once. Your guts twist. You can't hold water down and you can't hold it in. And out here, where there's no help and no clean source to set you right, the thing that actually kills a man isn't even the sickness itself. It's what the sickness does. It wrings every drop of water out of you faster than you can put it back. And a man can dry up and die in the middle of a creek bed, sick from bad water, dying for the want of water, full and starving for the very thing that poisoned him. That's the cruelty of it. The country lets you carry the thing that kills you for a week before it ever shows its face. Before I give you the fix, I want to hand you a favor in return for one. If any of this is landing for you, if you're starting to look at that pretty stream a little differently, hit subscribe and like this video right now while you're thinking of it. Tap that notification bell so the next old skill lands in front of you when it drops. That little tap is the whole price, and it keeps this knowledge from going quiet for good. All right, here's the trick, and I'll hand it to you in layers, the way it was handed to me. The first layer flips your whole head around. You stop judging water by how it looks, and you start judging it by where it is and where it came from. You read the country, not the cup. Water that falls straight out of the sky as rain or comes off clean melting snow up high where nothing lives and nothing has died, that's about the best you'll find. Water bubbling up cold out of the ground at a spring before it's run across the open and picked anything up, that's good water too, because the earth itself has filtered it. The further water has traveled out in the open, across ground where animals walk and live and die, the more it's had a chance to gather the thing that hurts you. So you look up the hill before you ever look in the cup. What's above this water? Is there a meadow up there where the elk bed down? Is there a still pond? Is there a carcass you can smell before you see? The story of the water is written uphill, and a man who reads the slope knows more than a man who reads the surface. The second layer is the one nearly everybody alive today gets backward, and it's the one that actually does the killing of the invisible thing. You heat the water. You bring it to a hard, rolling boil, the kind where it's truly tumbling and not just steaming, and you hold it there a good while. That heat does the one thing your eyes can't. It kills the living things in the water dead, every one of them, the ones too small to see. The ones the clear water hides. It doesn't matter how clean it looked going into the pot. Once it's boiled hard, the life in it that meant you harm is finished. This is the oldest, surest trick there is, and it costs you nothing but firewood and a little patience. The old hands boiled their water and their tea and their broth, not because they understood the tiny living things, but because they'd watched the men who drank cold and raw go down, and the men who drank it hot stay standing. They learned it the way you learn not to grab a hot pan, by watching it happen. The third layer feels almost too simple once you know it. You let the bad water work for you before it ever touches the fire. If all you've got is murky, muddy water, you let it sit. You dip it into a pot or a vessel and you leave it be, and you watch the mud and the muck settle down to the bottom over an hour or two. And then you pour the clearer water off the top, gentle, leaving the sludge behind. You can pour it through a wad of clean cloth, or through sand and charcoal layered in a sock if you've the time to build it, and it'll come out cleaner still. Now, understand me. This does not make it safe. This only takes the dirt out so the boiling can do its real work better, and so the water doesn't taste like the bottom of a pond. The settling and the straining is the helper. The boiling is the cure. Never let one stand in for the other. The fourth layer is the one nobody sees coming, and it's the one the old hands lived by hardest. When you've got good water, you don't wait until you're dry to think about it. You drink when you find it, and you carry what you can, and you fill every vessel you've got the moment you're standing at a clean source. Because the worst decisions a man ever makes about water are the ones he makes when he's already parched. A dry man will kneel down and drink from anything. A dry man will look at that pretty deadly stream, and his thirst will do his thinking for him, and he'll drink deep and doom himself. Because thirst is the loudest voice there is, and it drowns out every bit of sense you own. So you stay ahead of it. You never let yourself get desperate, because a desperate man drinks bad water, and bad water is the thing that's been killing us out here all along. Now let me close the loop I opened at the start. The riddle of the man who drinks his fill and goes down hard days later. You see it plain now, don't you? He trusted his eyes. The water was clear, so he drank it cold and raw, and never put it near a fire. It carried the invisible thing down into him, and it rode quiet in his guts for days while he walked deeper into the empty country, feeling fine, congratulating himself on the sweet, cold water he'd found. And then, days from anywhere, it turned on him all at once and wrung him dry. He didn't die because the water was muddy. The water was beautiful. He died because beautiful was the only thing he checked. And here's the question you're surely asking by now. If this is so simple, if it's just boil your water and read the slope, why didn't anybody ever tell you plain? Why isn't it the first thing every man learns? And the answer is the quiet kind, the kind that's about money and not about mystery. There's no fortune to be made in teaching a man a free habit he learns once and keeps forever. There's a great fortune in selling him the answer over and over. The bottles, the little filters that clog and need replacing, the tablets, the gadgets with a lifespan printed on the box, the whole shelf of things that promise you safe water if you'll just keep paying. A fire and a pot and the knowing of how to read a hillside that costs nothing and never runs out and never needs buying again. And a thing that costs nothing and never breaks is a thing nobody in the business of selling has any reason to put in front of you. It's not a plot. It's just the quiet arithmetic of what sells. The free knowledge doesn't advertise, and the expensive answer can afford to shout. If you've made it this far with me, you're exactly the kind of person I make these for, and I'd be glad to have you riding along. Hit subscribe if you haven't, give this one a like so more folks find it, and turn that bell on so the next lesson reaches you. Now let me be straight with you the rest of the way, because I'd rather you trust me than be impressed by me. I won't dress this up bigger than it is. You, sitting comfortable with a tap in the kitchen, are not likely to die of this on a Sunday hike. To actually die of this, you'd have to be deep out in country with no clean source and no way to carry enough, the way a lost hunter or a stranded traveler ends up. But I'll tell you the same thing I tell every man. Every soul this ever came for thought it wouldn't, right up until it had him. And I won't pretend the old ways are magic either. Boiling is the surest thing there is, but it won't pull out poison from a mine or chemicals washed down off a road. That's a different danger, and the old rules don't touch it, and I'll not lie and tell you they do. And I'll say the honest modern thing too, because honesty cuts both ways. A good filter or a few purifying tablets in your pack weigh almost nothing, and they'll save your life on the day you can't get a fire going in the rain. The old rule keeps you alive for free, and the little modern tool catches you on the day the old rule can't. A wise man carries both and is too humble to lean on just one. So here's the whole of it. small enough to carry and free as the rain coming down. Don't ever trust water for being pretty. Read the slope above it before you read the cup. Let the muddy water settle and strain it clear. And then, no matter how clean it looks, you boil it hard before it ever passes your lips. Drink when you find good water and carry what you can, so thirst never does your thinking for you. Do that much, and this country can hand you its sweetest, deadliest little stream, and you'll walk right past it and live. Maybe that's the real lesson, the one bigger than water and bigger than any one trick. Those men didn't die because the country was cruel. The country was only ever just the country. They died because they were certain. Certain that clear meant clean. Certain that pretty meant safe. Certain their own two eyes could tell them a thing their eyes were never built to see. The wilderness never kills the humble man half as fast as it kills the sure one. And the old hands feared their own certainty more than they ever feared the cold or the dark or anything with teeth. Now I want to hear from you, and I mean it. Tell me down in the comments, what did your own people drink from out in the wild, and how did they know it was safe? Was it a spring they trusted? A rule about running water? Something I've never heard? Tell me, because half of what I know I learned from somebody else's grandfather, and I'd be a fool to think I've heard it all. And if this kept you a little safer, do me that last small kindness. Subscribe, give it a like, and tap the bell so the next one finds you. Because before you go, here's what's been gnawing at me to tell you next. There's a way a man can find himself good water in dry country where there's not a stream for miles, where the ground looks dead and bone dirt empty, and the old hands could pull a drink right out of it when a newcomer would have died of thirst standing on top of it. I'll show you next time. Until then, you keep your fire honest, and you never trust a pretty stream to tell you the truth.